Hello everyone, I'm your host MX2, and in this video I'll be going over the process that I used to model this Taurus KEPD 350 missile, part of the the launch thing I was working with. For this, if we turn on wireframe, we can see that the geometry is solved relatively simple to be pretty nice. For the most part, I wanted to focus on getting the bevel that was going along the side that was fairly sharp until it rounded near the front, which was a bit of a struggle along with getting this door to fit in here, but as you can see, it was quite a bit of fun. In fact, if we jump over into render view, we can see that we also gave it a basic material and also shaded it, so that way we can see what's going on. But yeah, over the course of this video, we'll just be going over how I went through modeling this thing based on this image on the side, and then went and grabbed some more images off of the internet in order to complete it. But for the most part, it's just kind of a getting started with modeling a missile sort of thing. Just wanted to have some fun with it, but the shape did turn out to be a bit deceptive and a bit more complex than initially thought. In fact, as I look at the additional images, I see that there's even more that I need to do with making it wider and adding additional shapes, but these are, I think, variants of the same item, so it is hard to judge it just from one image. And then of course I found renders where someone had already attempted it, but it is of course also a different model as well, so artistic liberties had to have been had. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and get started with this 350 KEPD Taurus missile. Hello everyone, and starting out, what we'll do is split the 3D view and we'll make this a image editor. Hopefully the right microphone's working. Sometimes I'll talk for hours and the wrong mic will be working, meaning no mic will be working. So I was looking at this image and I was like, dang, we are firing Corvettes at people. I mean, when we do fire. And also, I don't know if this is us. It may not be on our side. Anyways, that's not the point. The point, also, don't touch. Here it is in a real life situation. I love seeing the decals from Decal Machine show up in real life, like no step, right? Like, I see it on places where they just don't want you to step. They're like, no step. It's like, oh, wow. And here we see don't touch. So, I mean, if you want it to be real, don't touch. Just say it. All right. Anyways, we're just looking over the form. The form's kind of basic, but I was looking at it, I was like, what the heck is this? Like right here, it has like this angle, and then it curves around to the back. Like, dang, actually, it's a angle that the wings are able to sit on. Alright, so, and then I don't even know, this one's probably just for guidance when it's flying in the air. It looks a little strange now as I look at, like, the more I look at this image, the more it trips me out. So let's get in here and give the old try, right? So SY4, should have said 0.5 at the end. SY, we'll just scale it a little bit more. We'll apply the scale, and let's just think about this front. Well, let's also think about how thick it is. So you're at home, Domino's Pizza's headed your way, except it's not a Domino's Pizza, it's one of these bad boys. Wow, the more I look at this image, the more there is to take in. So we see this bevel, right, real tight here, and then it expands, right, turns into a little tri formation, expands out. So we'll take the little wing, goes around back, rounded. That's going to be a bit to think about. But over in the front, we see it comes around and it rounds out enough to accommodate the camera, and then up here it rounds out enough to round out this, but then it tightens back out to just be sharp in the front. Just a really weird shape, really, as I look at it. Maybe I bit off more than I can chew. Just kidding. Anything less than the thing is always just fan art. So let's Alt W, jump into Boxcutter, and just judging it by eyeball. Life is a perpetual optometrist exam for me, where I'm just studying my ability to interpret things visually, realizing that I need my glasses, but If I have them on, then I'm bothered by wearing them. Alright, so let us press Alt X. We'll set a mirror up on the bottom. That way we can, I'm just thinking about how we can approach this. I'm going to select this edge, and we're just going to control click mark, and we see that it goes wrong, so I'm going to shift scroll it up the stack. You can see it, the yellow text changing as I roll it up the stack, and we'll just bring that up where we can round it out. I'm pressing 1 to invert it so we can see exactly what we're getting with our bevel, and then 1 to go back, and then maybe Z to look at the wireframe. And we can actually exceed the mirror just a little bit, just so we get it rounded, but we don't have anything happening with the mirror clipping. And we want this to come in, terminate a little bit. Let's give that a shot. I assume that sort will not move this because this is a edge-based vertex group modifier. So instead of it being just a regular old bevel, this one is on a particular vertex group, so it shouldn't get moved is the point. So let's click. This one's always the one that makes me nervous, right? Because this is the cut I'll be thinking about for the rest of the day. As we can see, it was nothing. You know, we survived somewhat. I mean, we still have to get a wing. I'm just judging its sharpness. Alright, maybe something like that. We can press 1, just hide the cutters collection temporarily. Focus on what we're looking at here. So in the front, we want to make this work, but it's not going to work with the mirror. So I'm going to put an underscore at the front of the mirror. That will make it now a sort bypass situation. What that means is if I do a unique cut like so, maybe even come straight down, we see that the mirroring doesn't take place because it's now being cut off there. I love the underscore. The underscore is just my fallback. I immediately go to it whenever I need to just kind of stop the modifier assessment and just continue on. Like sometimes there will come a point in which you'll just need to continue, right? But you still want things to remain live, and that's where that comes in handy. So from here, it becomes a trickier situation. I want to do a couple of things, but I see that they're all not good choices. So let us try just doing a cut like so. And then we'll add another mirror, but I'll press A to make a new mirror modifier. We'll just mirror that to the other side. And let's ever scroll, bring this back, and we're just making some adjustments. And I think that can work. Also, happy holidays. Hopefully there's no missiles coming at your house or anything like that. Never trying to warmonger or anything. Alright. So with this area getting into be a little bit of a jumble, I'm going to just bring in a weld and just roll it up 1. And we see that weld's at the end of the stack, just at the end of our mirror weld. So we are good to go. So now comes the question of, well, how do we start adding the rounding in there? I mean, in fact, how do you add an entire like spherical piece in there? Are you going to be able to add that piece in there? Hey, these questions and more will be answered on the next exciting episode of Blender Ball Z. Alright. But I don't know. Like I said, I think I bit off more than I could chew. But I love saying that about models. Like there should be a montage of me saying that because every model is actually difficult, right? I mean, it just lends credence to the AI argument, but, you know, modeling is hard. Not so hard that I need a dang computer to replace me, but, you know, still, what can you do? Let's press D, and we're going to change this to be, I don't know, 24. I'm having a stroke because I'm not typing 24 right now. And let's just bring that out. And maybe something like that. Something like that. But we want to do more. We want to maybe bring it out, maybe bring this in, maybe remove its sharpening. You know, I'm just kind of thinking on the fly, looking at this thing. You know, it's a real conundrum. Doesn't have to be though. Let's give it a try. I was going to Shift D, but we could also Shift click Smart Apply in order to do a Smart Apply duplicate. Over the years, I've realized that maybe we should hide the previous shape when we do a Smart Apply duplicate, but I use it for other purposes, so maybe that isn't a behavior we should just force. You know, it's always a deep thought. And I'm just looking at the front, trying to measure out the back. We're going to grab this and let's Control click Mark, and we're going to give this a happy little bevel. And this bevel is not going to work out, but we can think about how we could make this work out, because really what we need to do is just really merge the topologies here, which is why I tried to keep this a certain amount of segments. In fact, if we really wanted to be really controlling, we could Alt X, change this to bisect with the D menu. And if we click on this one while holding Shift, let's try it. Click on this one while holding Shift, still holding Shift, click on the bottom one. And then without holding Shift, we'll click on this one in order to finish the operation. We now have this bisected into a 2D plane of itself, right? If we take that and we spin it, or screw it, in this case, we can press F to flip it. We can press 1, 2, 3 in order to flip through different presets. We can even press Tab in order to go in and set the segment count manually. Maybe we want to do something like 24. Maybe we want to even do something like 18. And that will suffice. The shading isn't the best, so let us hit it with the flat, just for now. And we're just analyzing what we have with the top, which I see we probably want to bring this up just a little bit. And this thing is going to be a pain. In fact, let us Alt X. We're going to hit it with a symmetry, just so both sides are the same. Things were getting a little ahead of us there. I'm just bringing this out, and we're looking at it from the side because I see that we kind of broke the plane. I see that there is a plane that's gently going along to the side, and we do want to keep that. In fact, for this area, got to question which part is real. If we Control click Bevel on that, you see that we're able to bevel this as well. In fact, if we make the mod before the first one with a Shift scroll, you can see the difference between having it where we placed it and then Shift scrolling it to place it above. Like sometimes modifier placement is just one of those things that's worth getting in and analyzing, so we are pretty serious about getting users in there and having them analyze their modifiers to get a better understanding of what's going on with their meshes. Let's grab this single point. We see that we're not able to adjust bevel anymore. And we're just trying to force this to work. In fact, if we turn off overlays, we kind of see what we have. And, you know, not trying to have the Pentagon come see me, especially now. New president, wacky government, and all that. Definitely don't want them coming to see me. You know what? Let's just start applying everything. And I'm going to take these two and we're going to hit it with a union boolean. And we already have it on exact. If it's not on exact, you can press F9 and change the solver to use exact or fast. I feel like this is about to change soon. There's a lot of stuff going on internally with it. Let's go ahead and apply that boolean because we are going to just get in and just start cleaning up. So I'm going to press Alt 4. Let's jump over to nSolve. as I said in the previous video, nSolve was going to have a new look where basically all the icons for it would be collapsed. We're going to begin working towards rectifying some of the customer issues that they were having with the initial system, at least on a visual level. I hate to see that some of those habits are being repeated already, but people did not like it. Alright, so even though I still do love the bandoliers quite a bit, I do understand the need to see a robust list. So it is something that we are working on. So from here, we want to make a few choices. In fact, you know, because we're on join is super, meaning if we, are we on join? We are not on join. Okay, my bad. Alright, so join's a bit super, meaning, you know, we drag it off the surface. It's going to just do extra, this more now. And, you know, that is one of the lessons just learned, is trying to continuously simplify. Mesh machine. Mesh machine is going to show up whenever I alt drag. That's going to be problematic. So for that reason, we will locate it. And also we can disable bool tool. No need for that. Bool tool was making things get a little weird. And let us uncheck that, save our press, and then give it a try. Alright, and we are back in business. So every now and then inputs can interfere with each other, but it's no big deal. It's just the lesser of multiple evils. However, for making them all play together, that of course is where inflow comes in, which is not forgotten, still beloved. Let us bring these together, and we're just sliding and just working our surface. We can go ahead and bring in a loop cut. And now this is where legends are made. We have to make choices, but we don't want to make too difficult of choices at this time because, you know, we're not ready to commit just yet. Let's clean that up. Let's now, we'll give this a bisect and modifier. That means it will split it in half and then use a mirror modifier on it, so only half of the mesh is real. So right now we're kind of in modeling mode. That's what I think about whenever I jump from working with booleans to just literally modeling things by hand. I'm just shifting from modes of thought. So we'll bring down this line. Let's bring down the line. And all I'm doing here is just redoing this. In fact, you know, as I use InSuite, my favorite behaviors are the most subtle ones. For example, when I click this, I'm no longer having to hold Alt because it remembers the last time that I used a cut through behavior. If I happen to use it without cut through behavior, then it'll remember that on the next instantiation. But it's those small things that just really make my day, because they definitely drive me crazy on that 1001th use. So from here, let us take this across the other side, join, bringing people together. All right, and let's take a look at this. So in a way, we are almost creating some sort of, I almost want to call it nuclear sub, but I'll make some sort of a war hawk angry. So I'm just zooming in to locate this, and we'll use a, what I like to call a gravitational wave to bring it all to the center. And Shift A will place a cube, but we'll use mesh tools and use sphere cast in order to turn this into a sphere. From here, we now can truly get to work. So this area. Actually, do I want to add the cut line just yet? I want to deal with this transition happening. In fact, I don't know how you would accomplish it in Blender, but when things fail for me when it comes to using a Boolean modifier, that's where I can fall back to using subdivision, because the rules of subdivision just haven't changed for so long. And really what we're looking at is edge distance being variable. So let's go all the way to the front with this, and we'll just pull out an offset like so. And if we really analyze what we have, at least as far as where the transition stops and begins to widen out, it does tell us the distance that we should have. I'm just trying this on the fly. This modeling was not rehearsed. Alright, so and of course up top we want to bring out a line. Last time we used it, it was a thickum. And that's what I call it myself. Like, oh yeah, that's that thickum. Need that thickum line. Or the thin. You know, thin is good too. Sometimes you need to work based on view. So let's bring that here. Let's bring this one here. Will this work out? Will this work out? In fact, let's we'll just call it missile. So unimaginative. This moment brought to you by PowerSave. Alright, so we hit it with the levels of sub D. We put sub D's on that back. And we see that, you know, things are not the worst. You know, things could certainly be worse. We don't want to get attached to subdivision just yet. And also, the correspondences of the day begin. So, allow me one moment to respond to a few messages. Alright, change up the music a little bit so it's a little bit less morose. Alright, so we are back to work. I am going to Alt-W and jump over to Boxcutter, and we're just going to use knife. Just so we can force a flow here. Which, that almost worked out for me. Let's grab this. And we're just pressing E and F and E. My favorite combination when it comes to desperately trying to get control of loops. Alright, so let us go ahead and make these connect. And we'll place another connection here. But me being me, I need my geometry a little bit equal. So how do we deal with this part? In fact, how do we deal with this part? And let's jump into subdivision once more. And so far, so good. We can have it out of subdivision in edit mode just for us to just kind of see what we're dealing with. So a combination of Boolean, a little bit of topological refinement, but let us finally start refining the back area. Because I was supposed to be getting in and doing this. That's a little fun thing. Alright, and the top part and the bottom part need to have a similarity. So what that means is not good. I mean, how similar? I'm just thinking of combinations in my head real quick. We will go with this idea. Let's actually use the bisecting modifier. So we need that to become congruent with that. Let's see how that is looking. Alright, alright. Don't like that one. First thing we'll do is get rid of that. And also we can now join them together. So let us go ahead and bisect merge them. So now they're both split in half, so we are doing half the work. Meanwhile, I am being read the riot act. And we have merged across space and time there. An important feature to me whenever it comes to nSolve and merging. For this area, let's think about how we would like to approach this. Really, this loop is the valid loop, and we should have been more conscious of what we were doing with our middle when we were dealing with this, because we certainly can't get rid of it. Really, if anything, we need to get rid of that one at the very end, but that one holds down the middle. So a mistake has been made there. A mistake that my brain's going to take a moment to have to rationalize. We'll just bring these over, do a little bit of merging. Same thing here. And how do we bring 1 to 2? And how similar do they have to be? They have to be quite similar. I was about to start slipping and sliding geometry. We don't necessarily want that. Alright, just thinking about this. We could try merging that one. Subdivide. Merge this at last. Alright. So with that, now let us turn on subdivision, let us turn off overlays, and just take a look at our ship. Terrible. We're gonna have to do better, guys. Alright. So when in doubt, always a reduction. At least for me. These are just rules I live by. Is that, you know, simplifying the geometry is a lot better for you than making it more complex. In fact, reapproaching things is one of the foundational goals of nSolve that we haven't even gotten to yet. Is literally the second opportunity to rewrite things. Alright, this one needs to be merged. And now that they are merged, let's Alt-V, and we look at this without overlays again. And we are making our way around to the back. Our geometry isn't looking the best, but we are definitely tightening this thing up. And from here, we'll just drag offset. Let's make a connection to the other side. We'll make this connection downstairs. Same with these. We'll just connect them to their nearest neighbors. Alright. So for this area, we don't want the second flow going into the back. In fact, it can terminate itself ASAP. Sounds really dramatic to say it like that, but we're talking about loop cuts here. Alright. And still just thinking how I want to solve this in a way where it's the same up top and the same down below. And let's bring this in. And we'll bring an area in over here as well, just to kind of begin quarantining this area, bring it home. I keep wanting to make missile jokes, but the world is not in the best shape. So it would be more sadist than comedic, unfortunately. Plus, every time I read about people getting hit by missiles, I always say it's just a matter of time till, I mean, how often can you read about people getting hit by missiles before you're the people getting hit by missiles? I mean, someone's going to throw some missiles eventually. Missiles are bad, but they look so good. It's like the guns all over again. You know, I'm not a crazy gun person, but you know, you gotta be able to look at a gun and think, wow, what an engineering marvel. A tragic engineering marvel. I mean, it's tragic in the direction of humanity, right? To have to require weapons, but mankind just went that way. You know, I think what was it? We ate an apple, so we're all evil now. So yeah, but I shouldn't be giving out sermons. It's not Sunday. So for this area, we're just going to use knife. One of these has to go, and it's probably that one. And on this side, one of them has to go, except one of them doesn't have to go. And we're just slowly solving this area, working it out. I mean, really, the image is kind of blurry. I should have run it through Topaz before starting this video. In fact, as I think about this more, I'm going to split this part off. Press L, press P. And sometimes I just like modeling, so I'll just sit and model for a moment, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just chilling. When really I need to get this thing done. So I'm looking at this, and I really felt like the part that has the wing sticking out is the bigger part, or maybe it's not, and I'm hallucinating it all. So what we're going to do is just pull the offset. I know we also have one here. This one's whenever you need to use it as the active tool. Sometimes you just need to use it just on a instantaneous basis, right? You just need to use it for just a quick moment, and that is it. That's all you need. Nothing more. Alright, let's bisect mod this to the bottom, which basically does nothing at this point. It just visually sets us up. We're just checking for end guns. We could put a loop there, close that up, just to be tidy. Alright. So far, so good. From here, I want these to hold a little bit better. Even though it might be unnecessary, let's also get out of perspective mode. Let's do that in orthographic. Line over here might also get the same continuous multi-cut behavior that we did for mesh cut, which surprisingly I didn't even use. I love mesh cut. More I use it, the more, you know, it's just real simple. So for this area, what we'll do is just Shift A, and we'll SX, SY, SY again. It's a bit hard to tell what shape this is, but we have this shape up here to tell us what shape that is. And looking at it, I actually see a bunch of hallucinations that probably aren't even actually present because the image is like pixelated. Like, you know, I see this part being really tight. It probably isn't. It's probably just real blurry, right? And it feels really rounded in the back too. Like both sides feel pretty rounded. So we'll hit this with a bisect mod too, just to have our work. And let's grab this. We'll put a loop in between. Let's grab this and just control click mark. I was going to do it destructively, but we could also do it, with the modifier, and keep it live for just a moment while we sort out what we're doing here. So probably do want to stretch that part out, except I want to snap my cursor here. Then whenever I select it, I can press period, set my pivot point to be 3D cursor, and then whenever I scale it on the Y, we see that I'm getting the desired result. R45, and let's go into local mode. And what I want to do is use set origin to set the origin here. I love set origin. And we'll press period, go back to medium point, so that way we can really get this thing to work out as far as scale is concerned. And this modifier is only here. Let's add a new modifier. So I'm selecting this one and this one, pressing Alt X, and we're pressing A to add a new modifier, and this will put a new modifier on top. Now I don't want to add another new modifier, so I'll press X to use the modifier that's actually present, except we're not on that modifier. If we look at our stack, we see that we're using a modifier that's mirroring itself. We want to change that to be the second one in the stack, and we can mirror that over, and we have now completed that operation. So this is just for us to visualize, and really I just want to be efficient with the mirrors. I could just stack mirrors up, just be lazy, but why do that? We'll press S, X, X. All right. And we went way too wide. In fact, let's really look at this. Maybe like something like so. I mean, I really cannot tell with this image. Afraid to look at more images because every time I do that, it sends me down a rabbit hole of insanity. So now what I want to do is get rid of this and merge these two, except this mesh isn't manifold. So if we select it, we see that we moved our mirror modifier. We shouldn't do that. This one's holding it together. This is a modifier for the end of the stack, and we don't actually need it because we just did a boolean into this mesh. So let's hide this and focus on what we have here. So if we bring back that cutter one more time, how much do we want to solve today? Do we want to solve 1? Do we want to solve 2? I'm thinking, or do we want to solve 2? Do we want to solve 3? Is the question. So I'm going to just get rid of that modifier on the cutter. It doesn't need it. And we are going to just, I was about to control A and apply all the modifiers. That's a really heavy-handed approach. Let's just apply the boolean. And if we take it in local mode, we can look on the inside and see that we almost did no damage, except we totally did damage here. So that's not going to work. We have to get rid of that. And now, welcome to what I call the Mondays. That's where we have a hole inside the mesh. So I'm going to dissolve those two. FF. Pay our respects. We'll dissolve these, and FF to pay respects to them as well. From here, I want to add a line, and I don't even care that I'm in perspective mode. And we'll GG, E. In fact, let's do that again. Also surprisingly, I haven't used hard loop in this video. So we want to grab this last point here, make the connection. In fact, let's see what we're solving in this hyper solving quest. one. This one doesn't have any loops to accompany it, so we must accommodate. Okay, I thought it was telling me that there's faces on the inside. That would have been bad. Some things are harder to solve. Alright, so I need to connect this point to this point, resolving this area, except we have that point and that point, which both need to be gone. And more connections. Life is about resolving broken connections. Sometimes. Alright, so for this area, it's a little bit more curious. I mean, I do want to get rid of that, but, you know, I just wonder what kind of flow is going on there. You know, we do the same thing here. I wonder what kind of flow is going on there. We're going to pretend we don't have to wonder about that. Let's exit out of local mode, and we'll activate subdivision and just kind of take a look at what our result is here so far. So not the worst result, but let us, I'm just control right clicking just to see what my selection looks like here when it comes to select inside of nSolve. And instead, in our case, what we will need to do is just bring about an offset. We'll make a nice offset. Just so we have something a little bit more. I don't want that to merge, so I'm trying to slide it very hard away from it because I got Vertimergy on. It's not 5 o'clock, but you know, Vertimergy is always there for me. It's one of my favorite things they've added to Blender, besides GG to slide, which, you know, I will be an old man talking about that one efficiency. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I think they probably should have done it a long time ago. But yeah, GG to slide, just great. And with that, we now have that part put together. So with this piece, I don't know what I'm looking at there. I'm gonna be frank. Telling you, I don't even wear my glasses, and I'm supposed to. Get celebrities wrong on TV all the time. It's just terrible. So let's try our best here. I'm going to, you know, what we need to do is like work without the judgment of subdivision, and just put the shape in there. So what does it look like to me? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to take this cube and we'll bring one end up, and let's just bring this end down. Let's put a loop down the middle. We'll grab these two edges and control click mark in order to put a bevel there. Let's also put a weld because, you know, I just don't trust what's happening there. And now we can deal with the roundness of what's happening there. Except, you know, I feel like there's also some roundness happening there. So let's take this moment to just merge, mirror. And that is the shape that my brain sees. I mean, I don't know what your brain sees. Maybe you see a different shape. I mean, I actually see more shapes now. Like I should take this and extrude it back and make it like a deeper one. But I am being unusual. I gotta get it together, guys. So with these two, let us place an underscore here. We'll just grab them and perform a difference. And how deep do we want it? Said no tutorial maker ever, so I won't say that again. Suddenly I'm remembering a PETA meme about Thanksgiving being inappropriate to talk about stuffing turkey, but I don't know what they were trying to say. I don't know what they were trying to say. PETA's so insane. Alright, so let's... I don't even know what their cause is anymore. I already have 2 cats. I can't take another cat. You know, I look at these cats, I just think about them in terms of cans of cat food. You know, cats are pricey. Alright, so, especially if they got asthma. Let's bring it back again. We want to adjust the bevel of the second one. Let's also put the weld at the end. And I'm not the biggest fan of how simplified the shape has gotten, but Topology will thank me. They'll say thank you for not going too hard on that area that you could barely see. And I'll say why certainly. Alright, so let us apply this, and we're just going to grab these two and we're just going to mark unmarked because something happened there. And also let's shade this flat so we don't have to get in it like that. And I'm going to take the surrounding faces, we'll inset them, and then I'm going to immediately get rid of the supporting outie. I was talking to a buddy recently. He was saying he was about to pick up a new book to read. It's like, I'm thinking about reading the Modis. It's like, oh snap, dude. I loved the Modis. You know, that one was the sequel to The Mode in God's Eye, which, you know, I put in my list of books about white excellence, right? Like, everybody in space is white. You know, it's just good old boys in space. You know, was the book. I'm not even saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying that was how old sci-fi was written. So from here, we will add a loop right here. And then figure out a way to go back to talking about modis. You know, also one of the things about the modis that was interesting was they weren't humanoid. You know, most aliens are humanoid, which, you know, I see as an irk on a lot of people on Reddit posts. So having like a alien species that was like one-armed and basically unlike humans in any way was a refreshing thing to see. It definitely made me jump right into the sequel. I mean, the last one was written by his daughter, I think Jennifer Pornell, and I haven't gotten to that one yet, but it's on my list. I haven't started to miss the universe that deeply yet. Let's take a look at what we have here. And look, Ma, no quads. I show my Ma, she wouldn't care for reasons I've already expressed. She knows nothing of topology. Is she happier for that? Maybe. But no, I'm just making topology jokes now. But yeah, the previous generation, don't know how hard we have it solving topology round the clock. Alright. So I've been ranting like a boomer for so long, and it's gotten me nowhere. Except this piece is done. So let's just split it in half, and we got that. Let's bring them back together. And I just want to select this area, and we will just merge. And if we check our boundary loops, which I have boundary loops mapped to shift tilde because, you know, I only need it every once in a while, not that often, but every once in a while. During the holidays, as the turkey's being carved, past the boundary loops, please. And they're like, what? And then I say, what? and everybody laughs. And that's why I don't get invited to Thanksgiving anymore. You know, might as well have voted for Trump. But instead I just talk about topology. So if we take a look at this, I think we are doing pretty good. I mean, I don't want to really give away any secrets of the nation and how we conduct ourselves in war. But if you're receiving these from us, you know. Alright, and every time I do that, I basically smooth it out. But I see that I'm trying to really keep this big bevel while keeping the small one, and it's a struggle. I would have to basically widen it out there, so there's almost a case. I don't even like this idea, but just looking at it, I'm thinking of just tightening this area up. But that's even more inaccurate. Alright, continuing on. So we want to just add a loop here. We'll Alt S, push that out, because if we use just regular S, we might mess it up. Just because this part's looking a little more rounded than my initial assessment. Not trying to be crazy accurate, but you know, I don't want to be, you know, in my head it's like blueprint fan art, or the item, the fan art, or item fan art version is like a meter in my head, and I'm trying to do a fine line where maybe a patriot who looks upon it would say, oh, that's my missile, shot one of those yesterday. And then I would say, at who? At who? Still over here caught up in a riveting morning discussion. Always something new happening in the Blenderverse, which I love. You know, meanwhile in the Power Level 1 community, they're still arguing if Orange Piccolo is gonna mean anything when he comes to sparking 0. Answer is no. He's Piccolo. Come on. I mean, not trying to be that way, but he's Piccolo. Come on. You think Toritaro is gonna care about the legacy of Piccolo? His legacy was taking care of Gohan. Gohan's an adult now with a wife, kids. It's time to send Piccolo to the demon realm. So anyways, look, I can drag this out with join right, but I can also hold Alt, and you see how it turns white like an angel's hair. That means it's cutting through. I mean, I just kept asking for more whenever it came to join. In fact, when I hit him with the we should make join into multi, that was when I got an audible sigh. But dreams will be dreams. So looking at this, we do want to solve it, but how do we want to solve it? I'm thinking something like that. And we're kind of getting near that final-ish topology. And just adding loops, sliding around, just making this area work. But I'm thinking it's looking pretty good. In fact, the only areas I don't like is where loops are too close to each other. You know, as long as everything has a fairly adequate distance, it works. However, this area I am going to need to expand upon just to fit that circle in there. and because of its angle, you know, it'll be a bit of a thing. So let's go ahead and do that. So looking at it from this side, we're already in Boxcutter. How big of a circle do we want? I'm looking at this geometry, and we don't really have a lot to be working with here. We also can handle this with nSolve, which my first thought is to make a boolean and convert it, but we also have nSolve. So let us use its circle. We'll bring in a 12 segment circle, project it there, except we don't want it there, we want it here. And maybe there will do. Let's inset it. Let's inset it. Sorry, my mice have been dying, so I switched them out with identical mice. So now I have to recalibrate again. Some with the middle mouse button, I think just stuff just gets in it. So get the lint out of your middle mouse buttons. Let's switch over to line. And we're done with line for the evening. Just kidding. All right. And how do we want to handle this? Let's dissolve that. We'll send it there. And is that even better than that? And is this what's best for this area? You know, once you kind of tap into that Zen state, you start solving kind of fast. You know, so solving is just one of those things. You just do it. You just only need it for just a moment, just to solve it. And you know, you come to, you're like, what happened here? What's all this solved geometry? And that is you being done. You know, clocking out, going to lunch, eating at I'm trying to think of that sandwich place that isn't around anymore here. Thanks, Quiznos. There you go. You go to Quiznos. In the hypothetical universe that you still have a Quiznos near you. It could be that Quiznos is gone in every universe. The company just didn't make it. Let's hope that that's not the case. But yeah, we lost our Quiznos. You just never notice these things until they're gone. You know, I always make jokes with people that they are the ones that kill these places by not eating at them. It's like, you're the reason that Long John Silver's is dead, because you didn't eat there. It's a partial truth. A lot of people didn't want to eat there. Alright, so we're looking at this, and we want to get this to basically have a better plane happening with it, because this one has such a better thing going on. In fact, I'm going to select all of these, you know, as I think about these sort of things. You know, sometimes I'll always want to try like a mechanical solution, meaning just set it up manually, just testing Blender out just to see if there's a more efficient way, because that's like the root of every tool to me. So let's you know, we'll just make a vertex group out of it, and let's QOT, and we're just going to add a plane. And what we want is for this to conform to the plane. And that is about how not conformed we are. So that would mean that everything on the other side of that is about to get moved. In fact, I'm just doing a little free rotation just to really make it painful and regrettable. And maybe something like that. In fact, let us go and we will dissolve these loops. We will unexist these loops. just to keep things simple. And let's convert this into a wireframe. We'll go back into this mode. Let's Shift G, maybe in face mode, Shift G, maybe invert mode, Shift G, vertex group. There we go. Which vertex group do we want? They're not going to tell us. Let's try it again. Select. That is the one. So we will isolate except for that one area. And we want to align our view to this. So we do have a tool for that called Align View. So if we control click this, we see that we can align our view to this object. In fact, what we want is the opposite of that. So I just press Shift 3, just jump to the end. And now what we can do is, if we were to just grab our face, we could press G, hold Control, and that would just snap it. But we want to make sure that we have face project on, and I think that's it. So let's press G, hold Control, release, and let's come out and see how good we did. I mean, we moved that, so not the best, but we're trying to make a little post-game correction at the end. And it's always fun to get in and experiment with manual tools just to see kind of what you're dealing with as far as the process of beginning automation is concerned. So I am going to dissolve all of that and then remake the circle. By grabbing this loop and this loop, we could press I and inset. One, two, three, and we'll connect these over to the other side. Let's also add a loop. We'll press E and F just to make sure that it's conformal to the second area. And let's take a look at this without overlays, and we see that we were able to get a nice plane happening here. Of course, subdivision is giving us the work, but that's fine. We could always up it at the very end. Almost don't want that one there anymore because it's easier for us to just add a new one using a fuzzy version of the line, meaning it's thick. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means that we need to have a loop here that we connect there, and also inside the middle. You can dissolve that, making it a quad, and everything is back in order. So if we turn off our overlays, we're just getting a little OCD with the front because this is the main part that you'll be looking at, right? So we want it to look the best. So for this part, I'm just going to pull a little bit of an offset just to sharpen that up. And if we turn off overlays, we can kind of see what that has done. Really getting a little OCD with this missile. That's why I gotta cut it out. So now with this area, I'm going to Alt-click EM macro, or actually Shift-click EM macro to push out the edge, and then holding Control. You can see my hotkeys at the top, but we're just creating a little inset here. But because it's pushing it by the normals, slightly imperfect, so perhaps someday we'll be able to approach that a little bit better. Let's grab this entire loop, and we want to make sure that that loop is that entire loop. As you're seeing, SY0, and that will work. Let's grab the other side, SY0. We'll insert our first loop here, and I see that I'm possibly late to feeding the cats.
So that tells me that either my significant other has dealt with it, because listen, they don't mess around. They don't mess around. And now we have this wedge. You know, that was the one thing I took away from the image. I was like, wow, all the times I've put wedges in models, this is the one time that we see a wedge on a model. And let's shift V, and we want to align this to the longest edge. Alright, we have this selected. Let's double check that. Shift V, use active edge, that's what's going on. Alright, and we'll bring this over. And just bring that in. Just a happy little wedge. Alright, and I'm thinking half of how it's looking right now and half of how I'm trying to get it to solve. Because right now we're looking at the subdivision result, we probably want to turn off subdivision for a moment. So that way we can cut this in without doing any lasting damage, but just a little tab, right? So merging it in, we'll just go ahead and just apply the boolean by pressing Control A while hovering over the boolean modifier, just leapfrogging it. Just one of those modern conveniences of Blender. Let's change this back to box, and let's change this back to local, and ooh, I don't know how we're able to even get it to prompt us to want to delete objects, but we're just going to draw a box around this with blue. Press Control X in order to jump over to blue box. And we'll subdivide and slide this over. Let's Alt 4, and we will jump back over to nSolve when it comes to our edit mode needs. Sometimes my fingers are close to Control R, sometimes they're close to the button. That's the only thing that separates it. But I just know I really need that edge loop fast. And now. Alright, continuing to make our connections here. Alright, so if we wanted to handle this right, we could just do something like that, turn that into quads. That gives us just 1, 2, and then all we need is just one loop in order to make it all work, which we can force one here. You know, this wedge was just kind of a, I mean, of course it was in front of our faces the whole time, but we'll pretend it was unplanned. And from here, we'll add another edge loop. Let's go ahead and jump under line again. We'll place a fuzzy here. I almost want to slide it more fiercely, but that would not work out. Let us consolidate it to there. And we won't look at this topologically, but let's look at our shading in object mode, and we are moving along with this thing. So now we just have to put this panel in on the side over here. This is the side where they put all the technology in it, the navigation system. I'm no kidding, I don't know anything about this missile. Let's go ahead and give that a try now. And what will surely be a complication. In fact, let's do this in red. If we do it in blue, it's just me going right to the solve. But if we do it in red, then we can really analyze it and then think about how we want to solve it, right? So, you know, how many segments do we want on the corner of this important piece? Me personally, I always want a segment in the center. So I always lean towards, I think, even numbers of segments, because odd numbers have a different look to me. So maybe something like, let's turn off subdivision and analyze what we're solving, right? Because we want to probably give it 4, right? Be high def, go HBO with it. But that's just not going to work out for us because the knife is thicker than the bread. So in those cases, I'm just thinking in my head about workflows and if the next thing I'm gonna try will even work. But let's try it. Let's get rid of the boolean. Let's just select this. Let's select both of them and just shift click knife, and just like that we have now implied the geometry in the surface, and we'll just work like that. I just was thinking, what's the easiest way to get this as a surface contouring adherent shape on the surface, and that is a knife project. Let us select these and we will isolate it. Not isolate, inset, sorry. I'm thinking of other things in my head. We want to inset it to isolate the area. And from here, let's grab this one, SZ0. You know, some of these that are just a little wonky, my OCD just wants to straighten them out. Probably should have took off my watch before I started doing this. It's like delivering a baby, right? Probably don't want to be wearing a watch when delivering a baby. I don't know. Maybe you do want to wear a watch when you're delivering a baby. Seems like metal would get involved. But that's a strange topic to be talking about in the middle of a video. My apologies. Alright, let's see how we did. And our report card gives us a D. Just kidding. And how do we want to handle this near merger situation? Let's look at this again. Alright, barely improved, but not so bad. We can get rid of that loop, which improves that situation. For this area, let's grab with join, and we'll extend that off of the surface, getting rid of that. A real Tetris move, if you ask me. The urge to solve this area is great. The need to solve this area is minimal, because the loop in the middle still doesn't make sense. I'm thinking about how I can replace that if I do end up replacing it. If you can't model them, don't launch them. Just kidding, but imagine if you had to model the missiles that you launch. no one would launch missiles. Like, this missile is a pain. The people who model the missiles don't have it in them to launch them. You know, they're just engineers. They're nice guys. They're not trying to launch these missiles. They just assume they're used for keeping the peace, you know. And there's no better way to keep the peace than launching missiles at it. You know, right before you're hit with a missile, you found the time before peaceful. You do anything to have it back. That's the peacekeeping nature of these missiles. Sorry, I can't stop making missile jokes. What happened there? Alright, we'll reslide that in. And then for this piece on the inside, we will double protect it. Alright. Let's press I to inset that. And we'll push this edge away as well. Just making sure that we're keeping this safe in the right way. Looks like we kind of misguided that area a little bit, didn't we? All right. EF, not really a lot of difference between the two, but all that we're doing is just giving ourselves a little bit of geometry to set up for the circles, because we might as well put the circles down. Also, we really need a subdivision to stop getting placed above the mirror. It's messing us up, and we can come out of local. Alright, let's look at this. So this shape looks like it comes in order for it to have this like large intake. So this basically renders my shape very incorrect. And that's something I should have noticed sooner. You know, what shape is it? Wait, let's really look at this before I do something crazy to this. I do want to model the big intake though. Let's try to model it incorrectly. But I think we are making some good progress on this. Align view. And with our vertex bevel, we'll just round it off. And then let's bring it to the back and give it a solidification. So what if it was something like that? I mean, it very well could be, just based on how I'm interpreting the reference image. I mean, I might be having some copium here, but it's just hard to tell because there's shadows and wings, and really I don't want to see this thing up close. I can't stop making that joke. It's funny to me. I mean, not to the people who are affected by these things. My heart goes out to you, unless you deserve it, I guess. but no one deserves to be hit by a flying Ferrari of hatred, of freedom, of nuclear payloads. What shape is this? Let's try bringing that in, and we will Alt-S also bring this in. Maybe we could make this make sense. Alright. Alright, GXX, GYY, ZZ. Alright. And we can go in local mode and just I was about to do something terrible like this, and I'm still going to do it so that we can place a loop all the way around. Maybe Alt-4, jump over to nSolve, make that connection. And we will just mirror this below. And I think I can make this work. In fact, let's mirror this to the other side using another mirror. And we can turn off overlays. So just kind of take a look at our flying terror machine. Also, there's a piece up top. I do want to put that there too. I mean, all the pieces I see, might as well give them a try. Sorry, mouse hand's getting a little twitchy. Alright, then we can just bring this forward. As awkward as that was. Yeah, it was very awkward. Just take a look at what we have. I keep saving a file because so every now and then I do get a crash just to humble me, and I do hate being humbled by crashes. Let's also set this to smooth, just so we can really analyze our result that we got here today. So now looking at this, is this connected with the surface? The part of me that wants breakfast says no. The part of me that needs dinner, though. Just kidding. Let's make the connection. And have some fun with it. Because yeah, I could just have it sitting on top, and that would be great. I could call it a day, and no one would be none the wiser or care, but I care. So prior to the full merge, let's take this let's look at our shapes here. So do we want all these loops to be merged? It looks like we actually have no choice, which I know is a weird thing to say, but if we look at this, this is probably the best choice. In fact, we are going to take this time to rip half of this off, and then we are going to bisect mod, place it below itself, And let's bring this together. All right, and we're just making our connection. Let us continue on in here. Right here, things got a little bit unruly. Maybe that's something with this version where there's just these near misses, or the near misses are caused by me. You know, gotta accept responsibility, right? So we'll just make those meet. And then we can close this area back up. Just a little open heart surgery on a mesh. Christmas morning. Just kidding, it's not Christmas morning, but yeah, a little open heart surgery on a mesh here. Let's double check. And so far, so good. Let's test our loopage by adding a loop. And this one will, you know, help us hold this area under control. We'll force a connection there. And so far so good. So a little bit more sliding. And we will be ready for launch. In fact, it would be cool if this was the item that I got to use as the launch. I was going to make something a little simpler, a little funner, a little quicker. You know, like, hey, here's a 3-second missile. And then the rest of the video I'll talk about launching it. Alright, so let us press I in order to inset. And until I die, I will always talk about a hypothetical inset that will be able to have only the inner loop or the outer loop only, and it will just be like a kind of pusher. It will be a gentler push. You know, most cases you wouldn't need it, but there are some more complex cases where I just see it as needing to exist. We're just offsetting that triangle for now. What else can we do with it? I mean, we could send it down to this side to spiral out. Let's give this area a loop cut. Let's also add one here. You know, dealing with this, if I was using inflow, would definitely be a lot easier. I just remembered what it would be like if I had a configuration that was you know, tailored towards this particular workflow, because we're doing the same thing as we're going throughout this. We're just cutting pieces in, we're refining it, we're working the topology, and then let's see what we have whenever it comes to subdivision now. So the only part that's going to give us problems is this part, and this part isn't even accurate. If we look at the image, we see that it is a flat flush and not this angle that we're trying to make happen here. So let's get out of the fan art realm. You know, not trying to go into War Thunder territory. There's like a drama where basically someone leaked classified documents on a War Thunder forum just because they wanted it to be accurate in the game, which shows a level of commitment. I do not have that level of commitment nor interest. Like I said, I'd never want to see a Predator missile. That's easy. Bring it down. Alright, let's get rid of that. We'll dissolve that. And let's bring that in. And let's work in another piece of topology. Work in another loop. And for this one, I'm just going to offset it. We'll send it to the nearest corner, hoping that there's no long-term damage. Looking back, seeing that we only created long-term damage. Alright, and that loop probably will come back to haunt me. Nope. Looks like I was able to get away with it scot-free. Alright, and we're still able to place a loop there if we needed. So let us get to this other side and begin talking about how we want to solve this. So we do want this part to hold itself together. And what that means at the core is that, alright, so we have this loop going all the way over. We'll need another loop going all the way over, pretty much just like that one. And let's just solve this. All right. And just making connections, quiet connections. And let's also place a loop here, just to quarantine that area off. And we are definitely making some progress, but we finally got our piece worked in there. So now we can just grab both of these and before we join them together, let us turn off the mirror on the X, and then we'll apply that, and then we can rejoin these together. Let's select our boundary loops, and we can remove doubles. So let us take a moment to admire our work so far, because we are an hour and a half in. But we can press Q, add a camera, and let's try that again. We're going to look at it from here, but I'm going to press Shift C to place my cursor in the center, and then I'm going to press Q, add camera, and we now have a camera. If we just double check where it's positioned, I just like to make sure that it's on a very flat axis on its first frame, and then now we can have it do its rotation. And we could just really just take a look at it and just look at this, look at the reference, and just think about how this thing's going to look flying through the air, looking all crazy. But just like that, we have created the first layer of our missile. Of course, we probably want to add this part and this part in order to at least have it be the full shape, but just a quick video getting in here and making a missile. But I will just wrap up this part here for now. Alright, so we still need to model this part that goes on the top, and then the wings, and then we can say that we are done. So taking a look at this, I see that the version in the reference is a little bit longer. However, I like the little shorter, chunkier version that we did as well. So let us try to add this piece in the most basic way. No need to be fancy. Maybe something like that will do. But to see it over the side, it has to be fairly tall. That means this part slides in. And I don't know what I'm looking at here on the reference, but you know what? Let's we'll just pull a boundary. And let's grab the entire perimeter. And we'll also bring in something there. We'll select these 2 points, press J just to lightning bolt between them. Join to extend to bring it off. And we'll press E just to try to make it even. This one was already even, but I do want to bevel it and make it 2, just so we have one that's always straight. And then the one that we take over to the end here is available for our needs. We're going to just extend this off. And we're just looking, seeing if there's anything going down the shape that we're able to connect to, and no. Alright, and I think we are looking pretty good here. In fact, let's turn on subdivision. And we look at this. And I feel like it's a little tall. So my favorite thing to do when it comes to messing with highly detailed already added areas is modifying them. So let's simplify it. Let's select this. We're just bringing this down. And I'm sure there's a much more efficient way I could have done this. But sometimes it's just easier to remove the loop and then just place it back again. But because we're able to see the top of it more readily, it's a little strange to have it be so tall. Or at least that's just the way I feel about it. And we also probably could have done good getting rid of that loop and re-adding it. Alright, and looking at this, we have this, and then we have the wing happening, and then we have this piece happening. And if we look at our ref, we see that there's no room like that happening. So that gives us an indication, at least as far as our scale guide, to what we need to modify. So we'll just bring this out. Let's bring down the line, still fuzzy. And when I say fuzzy, I just mean that the line is thick from alt usage. Alright, and bringing it out like that definitely improved it quite a bit. For this shape, what I'm going to do is apply both of these. Let's go back one. We'll take this down to 3, then apply it. And then I'm going to use a bisect to basically keep half of it and get rid of the other half. If we shift click sharpen, we can put an auto smooth on it and just get our shading to look just right. And we'll go ahead and save. Let's also use Boxcutter, and we're just going to use a little bit of blue box to just kind of quarantine this area a little bit. And now that we have that here, we're just doing a few little consolidations just to keep everything quarantined. In fact, that section is no longer needed. In fact, when we look at this, we might be looking at a couple of areas that may no longer be needed. But let's just try to knife our way across this. Alt 4, jump over to nSolve. Alright, something like that. Just a little bit of simplification, but not too much, or else we'll be rewriting the area. So now for the final part, this piece of, I don't even know how it is attached. Almost want to look up more pictures of how this thing works. But instead, let's grab a series of faces and just extract it. So we're just going to control click on curve extract to rip this off into a new mesh. And now that it is a new mesh, we can just go to town on it. Dissolve, dissolve, dissolve. Let's bring this out. I just also realized the irony of doing a drone on Thanksgiving. You know, this is a thing that we give people around the world. It's also something to be thankful for not receiving if you haven't received one from us. No one wants to receive a drone from us. Alright, SY0. And really try to understand the shape. In fact, if we make this full screen, we see that it is a, to me, it's a triangle with this part being wavy. So let's see, 1, 2. Always with the notifications when I'm at the computer. Alright, we do see an angle break here. And this shape, I'm really just not even the most sure. Hence my apprehension, but let's go ahead and jump to the next phase, which, you know, usually improves my confidence with these sort of things. Hopefully I'm not doing a enemy nation drone. You know, someone's looking at this from China, they're like, hell yeah, that's our drone. Alright, so I'm going to just give this thickness, and we don't need edit mode to display anything, but we do have edit mode displaying our shape. Let's also get rid of half of it, and I'm going to select these 2 points, set our origin there, and then that way we can mirror it underneath. So we got something going on in the front, and in the back I just see that it's tapering off. I mean, I really can't tell the image, you know, between videos. I probably should have run it through Topaz, but I didn't. Let us bring in a line. And I'm sure this part in the back gets very interesting, so we'll need to come up with a special approach for it. For this part, I'm just going to press I, and I probably should also press B, but it looks like B usage has already been activated for this session, so I'm in a good place there. Let's bring a loop, make it meet. And looking at all this, you know, my first thought is, you know, a simple consolidation like so, just a gravitational merge to a dissolve, where we then bring in a loop and force the connection. And then we are looking at the completed part, completed-ish part. I might have to find out what exactly is going on here just so it connects right, because it does look nonsensical the way that we currently have it arranged, and that's just not good enough. So let's see, did I look at the flags on this? Are there flags that indicate who this belongs to? Nope. So we don't know whose drone this is. In fact, I'm going to take this image and ask ChatGPT who and what this is. One moment. Alright, so this is a Kepler KEPD 350, a long-range air-launched precision missile. It's known for its stealth capabilities and precision targeting, often used by military forces for strategic operations. Just to give you a little more information on this, we're going to save the file, and then I'm going to iterate this file. Actually, I don't need to iterate this file because the previous version won't be correct either. So this thing, after looking at some additional images, is like way thinner. So, you know, I called it fan art at the beginning. This thing is fan art to a level that I didn't even comprehend before. So what I'm going to do is try using a lattice just to help it out, because we don't want to get too destructive with the modeling. It'll never work out. Or maybe it would. Let's place the lattice before the mirror. Alright, and we're just seeing if we can find a middle ground between what the references are showing me and what the actual missile is. So maybe I do want to iterate it just by no. What I'll do is duplicate it, and we'll remove the lattice, and we'll just call this and this one's unimportant, so we don't have to see it anymore. This one is the actual one that we're working on. Sorry about that. I'm weird about iterations, because you know that regret that you get when you mess up something you shouldn't have, just terrible. So you know, the craze that happened years ago with people and just needing everything to be non-destructive, you know, I definitely can resonate and get behind that. Alright, and we're just bringing them in. And I'm really just looking at the circle here in the front. That's the area that I want to do the least amount of damage to. But I think I'm going to end up doing the most damage to. And we're using the sphere as our guide. Just seeing how much flex we can get out of this before things start to get weird. And how far out do we want to go? You know, evaluating this with subdivision present probably isn't the best thing. You see that without it, everything is just snappy. And we don't need it all to meet, even though we're using lattices to kind of split it apart. In fact, if I may take a moment, this part is so incorrect. You know, I was modeling it blind, and in the image, all we can see is just that. Wait till I show you what actually goes there. You know, it just goes to show the importance of reference images. You know, sometimes I'll see in a tutorial someone mention things like, hey, if you're not using ref, I can tell when you're not using ref, and I'm just like, ooh, ouchies. Preach. You know, they're right. Ref is so important. You always need ref. But it's also a balance, you know. You can get yourself inundated with ref. You can overwhelm yourself with ref. Just ref yourself into a state of impossibility. Alright, so I am going to apply the lattice, which is scary. you know, I'm also, I don't know, I don't like what I'm about to say. I'm going to apply the mirror, and then what we're going to do is do a bisect modifier and just remirror it, and just not talk about how I applied the mirror. And we just dragged everything over to the middle. And just like that, we have the missile. But if we bring back the original one, we can actually bring this one down, and we see that the slim one has a look to it, and I like that too. But because we were so off with it, it just wasn't going to work out for us, and that part is just tragic. But you know, just double checking the ref a sandy check before I start committing to an even higher level of geometries. Just as you can see in this case, it was beneficial, just like with the camera. You know, you want reference when possible. If there's possible ref, use ref, but don't be modeling without ref thinking that you're doing something great. Alright, and now I'm just looking at the inside here thinking, you know, does that even need to exist? No. So in 16 minutes we got in here, messed up the proportions, you know, got this piece corrected in here, but we still need to model this top piece. So let me bring up some images of what that looks like. Okay, so now I finally got PureRef up, changed out the batteries in my microphone, and we're looking at some references so we can see that, yeah, this is definitely a wide boy, but really not a lot of detail. I mean, it'll take a lot of pictures of these things, show all the war secrets, I guess, or maybe I'm just cursed with fuzzy images, but really these images could use a little bit of AI up-resing. Also managed to find some renders that someone done, and you know, renders always show me that I have a brother in arms who has already completed whatever I endeavor to do, thus giving me all the answers. So if we take a look at this, we can see that this was the shape I thought I saw from the side, which is pretty funny considering that this was all the shape that I was ignoring. So the wings would have just not worked out, but we see that this is how they come together, which gives us a clue to how they are shaped whenever they come out. Also, it shows us that the side of this is a big enormous flatty. There's also a secondary layer of detail able to be had when it comes to detailing this section, so we might go over that as well. But you know, looking at this and just judging the shape, let's get in there and give it a try. So we'll save the file, and let's just jump over to Ngon, and let's set ourselves up into make, and just kind of freestyle it here. It'd be crazy if, okay, that is very nice that we're able to use the origin of the shape that we're referencing off of for a free range make shape. That's just good. I didn't see that coming. Usually everything is bugged if I don't request it to not be. Alright, so with that shape, and you know, referencing someone's 3D model always feels like cheating, but you know, whenever I'm modeling something I'm referencing, I often find that, you know, there's someone out there who's already covered it, and I know that I'm just wishing I was that guy for some other guy. Pause, but that you would be able to just, you know, be looking for a model and you'd come across me already modeling it, because I love modeling it. Alright, so let's try to give it this wedge from the side. And we could bring this over and even get a little weird. If we wanted to. I was hoping that would work, but of course Ingon is going to be a little unusual whenever it comes to wedge. Let's shift V. We'll do nearest edge. So we get something like that. And then we'll just move the shape over. And we're just trying to have a meet cute happen. It's not going to happen, just letting you know. But we can force it to happen. You know, ethical edge connections with your boy MX2 over here. We'll make these edges meet. Let us bring this back. And we'll bring it over just a little bit more. Can we keep it? You know, it's just such a shape. And it kind of sprung up on us at the end here. Let's look at this. It meets sharply. You know, which one do we trust? Do we see anything to the contrary? Is really the question. And the answer is no. They all, in fact, even this one shows that it's a convergence happening at the midpoint. So let's try to go for it. And then we also know that it comes out like that. And I'm just trying to see how from the side you would get the wrong shape. I mean, this is like a really unusual way to approach trying to make it, but I always enjoy just kind of free thinking how it could be approached, and then trying a solution that is unusual. You know, maybe not even the correct one, just experimental. In fact, I don't even know why I care about this area. It is just for your entertainment. Are you not entertained? Speaking of which, I saw Gladiator 2 recently. It was very nice. Let's place it here. And then let's bring back this shape. And we can move it to work. So maybe something like that. I know, in my head, all I'm just seeing are angles and flat points, and I'm just trying to make them all work. So we also have this piece here, which I didn't even know existed, but now that I've seen it, I can't ignore that it is there. So let us just bring down a box. You know, everything is a box in life. And variants of a box. I mean, a circle really is just a box. You just beveled it the hell out of it, right? Like, you really just bevel it good. Hey, it's still a box. It's just got enough bevels to make it equidistant, so it's a circle now. We will give, and I already know that this is a regrettable choice. I'm placing an edge because Blender will do a thing called netting. I could avoid it by using an edge group. I think Blender has edge groups now. I just haven't cycled them into general workflow usage. But edge groups was one of those things I wanted like forever ago. And I guess it's a thing now, at least thanks to the power of geometry nodes. Even though geometry nodes gives us the power to make our own modifiers now, so there's so much more power than just edge groups that, you know, that's like the least of my worries now. Like, wait, you can flip faces? Why is no one flipping faces? Because no one cares. Alright, so we see that there's two of these things, and the second one is over here. let's use the classic array. We'll press V, put it in 3D mode. Alright. Maybe something like that. Even though every choice I just feel is in fact, even as I look at this, I'm like, wait, so this is saying cut here, here, and then all the way to the back. So they're like saying that this, I know this is crazy to suggest, but they're saying that this is like way up here, making this piece on the side. Let's see, maybe I can reconcile it. No. I was about to make a joke about being called the reconciler of shapes, but no. No, not today. Let me survive this thing, and you know, I have a beer to that. Just playing. Don't like beer. Alright, so maybe here to here with a bevel. Let us, you know, do we even need to underscore it? I trust my... Alright, I know I'm getting weird and desperate. Like, I wouldn't mind approaching this later. Like, I'd probably approach this just sitting on the couch and just like come up with the perfect solution in an unrecorded state. It always happens where the best things just happen when I don't have the pressure of live countdowns in front of me. But we are just trying to survive today. So another end-gun cut. And we're about to bring this all home. I mean, once we make it subdivision, it all gets married. Alright, let's do this. And by let's do this, I mean let's do a clone duplicate, because where's this thing at? Here. We'll hide the original and work on the duplicate just in case things mess up. We also probably want to get rid of any markings, so let's just remove any markings that we have. And this is where I would go in full screen and just give it the works, but you know, let's be smarter. Let's be smarter. By smarter, I mean let's get rid of any degenerate lines that are here first. Let's hit it with a bevel. Let's press 3 just to turn it into a spacing bevel. If we alt scroll, we can actually lower the threshold because it's an angle modifier, right? So if we lower the angle, we're grabbing more, but we also don't want so much. So there's some stuff in here that we don't want to grab, even though we do want to grab stuff outside of this. Just for this moment in time, let's sharpen it, and let's go back into bevel, but let's press L to set our limit method to weight. And if we do that, then you know, we can just work inside the micro domain. Just stop using words in my head. But yeah, we'll just work inside of the world of weight for a moment. So basically we're making weight work for us, even though in the end we'll need to apply the stuff. use a little bit of nSolve just to deal with the merger. Same thing here. Things are a little wacky there, but we will just get in and solve that. Let's go ahead and mark that. And it's the same thing over here. So whenever it comes to using bevel weight now, I handle it a little bit differently than I did, say, 10 years ago, where I would be a lot more about bevel weight as a final result. Alright, over here receiving the dings, guys. Always the dings. In fact, we look at this side, which we didn't take care of, and this is our result if we just don't manage our weight at all. Like, this is us trying to manage it with the slightest bit of intelligence, right? So we apply this. Let us now go in and begin just, cleaning it up. Ain't no thing. And a little cleanup there, and everything's just coming together. So even though bevel can get a little bit uncontrollable, I never look at it as a final state. I mean, sometimes I see sometimes where tips are given where people will say things like, hey, never apply to bevel, and I'm like, oh, that sounds good on paper, except the bevel is kind of cruel. Sometimes you really got to get in there and examine what you're being given with it, and maybe even offer modifications to it. Like, I feel like Blender is on the cusp of getting the edit poly modifier, where, I mean, not where it'll be added by them, probably where it'll be made by a user, but where Blender will be able to have just edits and things just in states of the mesh, and just a greater replication of things. Like, Blender's always been on the cutting edge of, I think, automation and making things more efficient, even though it takes them a while. It does, but when they get there, they get there. Let's bring this over here. And we're just adding in loops and just solving things to just make it feel nice. And this will really bring it all together. In fact, we can go underneath and just delete this. And we'll keep half of it just for a moment. We don't need to, but we'd like to. And we're just sitting in the office all alone, vibing out, not a kitty in sight. These kitties are so big now, they break their litter box when they use it. These cats be leaving kitten-sized messes behind. And I don't know if I mentioned it in a previous video, but if they don't, I was sitting here thinking, how do I make a line? How do I make a line? And today's the day after Thanksgiving, so I should be getting in there and hitting the stuffing, but gotta ask the GPT, how many days can I eat stuffing? I had a thing not too long ago where I asked GPT how to make Cosmos, right? And I was like, hey, how do I make enough Cosmos for the evening, right? So I don't have to keep making Cosmos. Literally, GPT killed me. Literally killed me. It multiplied the liquor math just so terrible. It was just brutal, you guys. So, you gotta watch out with GPT. I'll be asking all sorts of stuff now, though. I'm like, hey, tell me the secret of spicy chicken nuggets. How do I make them? How do I make spicy chicken nuggets? GPT be telling me I gotta soak the chicken in buttermilk. And I'm just like, what is buttermilk for one? And also, I'm soaking chicken and then I'm dipping it in stuff. Like I'm dipping it in flour after I'm soaking it, and then I'm soaking it again. And they're saying that this will give me, like, you know, that succulent southern chicken. So I have for so long always wanted to do cooking. I'm not saying I'm going to do cooking. I'm saying I've always wanted to as a form of content. I'm not a good chef. Like, thanks to supportive tips from friends recently, I finally got to the nitty gritty of hash browns. You know, like hash browns, the secret is butter. I was trying to use vegetable oil, and they were coming out soggy and weird, and they just were not hash browns. Like, I don't know. I just feel like everybody should be able to make hash browns. Like, it's just hash browns. Like, why are hash browns a secret of the corporate masses? I mean, the corporate world owns hash browns. You got to buy hash browns. No, not anymore. I will dice up my own potato. Maybe put a little onion in it, put a little garlic in it, right? Don't judge me. You know, it might get a little weird. That's what I'm trying to really get down, the art of these hash browns, so that way I can get weird with it. But, I mean, there's more to life than just hash browns. I mean, I also need to be able to do skillet potatoes. So, let us put a few levels of sub D on that Mac while we're just not talking nonsense. You know, if you get me talking about potatoes for reals in real life, or even hypothetically, I will talk about it for an inordinate amount of time. You know, maybe I'm Irish, but I'm not. But I do love potatoes. Just love them. Like, I bet it was a hard sell. They're like, hey, this thing, I pulled it out the earth. You've got to eat it. I mean, I guess it was an easier sell. It's like almost full of water, right? Like you cut open a potato. It's like so juicy, right? It's like, what is this? All right. So now we have this piece on top. So life isn't so bad. In fact, let's expand this to 500 frames. We've just been sitting here talking about potatoes forever. You know, don't judge me. I was about to move the whole armament here, but we can actually just move our camera. And we take a look at the back, and, you know, this person makes their back look tighter. In fact, let's look at some of these images again. So look, now all these other people have backs that make me jealous of having my back stick out like it does. But having that be brought back in, what are we looking at here? Like, what are we looking at there? I do not know. Let's press Shift G. Let's go with normal. We will deselect everything. My mouse is malfunctioning. And let us grow it one level. We'll deselect again. That gave me a little bit of depth just to play with. And now we will add a lattice. You know, our little secret. Alright. And we want to get rid of that loop. That loop is not doing us any favors. In fact, we are making some major movement here. And I don't even know if that's like the best idea. I mean, we're making like late game, very hard movement just based off this image. Like, I really am going to have to see a clear version of what's going on in the back in order to make decisions like that. Concerning the back now. Like, I can't just be making willy-nilly decisions that aren't completely explained. Not saying I'm going for a higher level than fan art, but you know, hey, I ain't messing around. Alright. Hey, this piece on top, let's just do that. So we'll just use circle with 8 segments. 8 segments. It's a long day. It's not even a long day. What is it? 1 o'clock. Alright, I'm doing great, guys. And we will just inset this. Dissolve the outside. My watch is telling me to stand, but I've been standing for the last 45 minutes. Watch is gonna be like, please, sir, sit. You must sit. Sit down, my friend. Alright, so I want a piece that fits in this. So I'm gonna grab this edge all the way to here, and we'll press Q, click on curve extract just to extract that. And we're just getting rid of some points that aren't needed, which is more points than are needed. And I know mine will have a gap, or for now it has a gap. Unless I want to get more intimate with how this connects, which I probably will. Let us shift over to box, and we'll just cut a nice little box there. No, we need more than that. Alright, GG, we'll hold Alt, we'll bring it out. Let's bring this back. This doesn't go all the way to that, so this does show that we'll need to extend this out to give it a little more distance. But before that, let us solidify and just add more thickness to this, so that way we can begin to create that. So hey, you learn these skills right here, you'll be working in the I was gonna say the oh man, I can't even make the jokes about the jokes on that. Oh, offense. No, look, you'll be working for some military faction. It may not be the Pentagon. Just playing. When you're able to model missiles and such, we're just extending it out a little bit more. I'm hoping this is a missile. If this is a drone, I'll be disappointed. I've been calling it a missile this whole time. No, wait. It is. It is. Also, Ukraine's asking for these, so we gotta send some to our boys fighting the endless war. Against a nation that never sleeps, or at least stop sending in their own people to get alright, so let's bring this over. I still trip out, guys. I have a video where they basically told me I had hate speech, which is crazy because I hardly ever say anything spicy in videos, at least of the level to trigger like actual censors. You know, I'm making like 3D jokes here. Like, I'm sure you guys heard that Moto is being discontinued. It does feel good to kind of outlive Moto, even though I don't want to outlive Moto. Like, I was a Moto nut back in the day. Like, I was like crazy about Moto. Like, I was getting all the Moto kits, like the Moto Light kit, the Moto Reading kit, the Moto Liquid kit, all that stuff. Like, I was getting all the kits. It was getting crazy. But Blender, though, that's like everybody's story, right? Like, watch, Blender is probably the program that's going to be the end of all like the end all be all of 3D applications. You know, it's just an inevitability. You know, I've mentioned it many times. I've had my friends come over to Blender. They're like, yo, it's happened. Like, I don't know why you're telling me like it's news. It's an inevitability. What happened? Your subscription plan grew by another 1,000? Of course it did. Welcome to Blender. Welcome to Blender. Which subscription plan did it for you? You know, who did this to you? No, I'm kidding. Who upgraded their package? Like, I'm going to shift deduplicate it and grab this, and you know, from here we'll apply to solidify. And let's also mirror it underneath itself, which can only be done if we set our origin there, and then we mirror it below itself, and then we can mirror it with a new modifier across itself. And this one we can turn off for a moment, and we don't need it on the X, but now that it's off, we can turn it back on. So now we have what we're going for here. And unfortunately, yeah, whenever I'm modeling off of someone's 3D model, I feel like it's like using a strategy guide in a video game, which I have no problem with. However, in 3D modeling, I do take it a little more serious. What were you beveling? Whatever we were beveling, no more of that. Oh, actually, we're beveling this part. And so we want to make sure that we have this all the way up the stack. Alright, we're back in control. Like, it's important to remain mindful of the mods that you add, because they are your mods, you added them. So, you know, sometimes people will write me about their mods. I'm like, I didn't add these mods, so I wouldn't know anything about them, but I'll help you figure them out, brother. And then we're in there and we're figuring out mods together. So now for this side, what do we want to do? It is just a roundish termination down, so I think we are about done here. And we could just continue on all day, just modeling details and just hammering away at this thing. However, I do want to figure out what's going on with the back, but I need to figure out the version of Taurus KEPD 350 that I'm doing, because look at it, it's just a big back. So, and I think we are ready for launch, but to do that we'll need to move our origin. So I'm gonna press Control period, and we'll just move this here, and let's test it out. So we're like flying in the air, wings waving like we just don't care. Alright, I can live with that. So I'll take a pause, end it here, and then come back and modify it more on the next version and take it to the next level.
Alright, for this final section, I figured maybe we could get this topology to just be a little cleaner, even though it really doesn't matter. It does to me. So, just looking at this, think, take a drink, just kidding. And where is it actually problematic at? I guess that is the start. It starts with the question. So, we just want a equalized geometric density happening here. In fact, let's double check this. Maybe we don't even want to break our quad flow. So it is just us just sliding things around a little bit. maybe not too much. And then this one can go up here. Let me bring this one down. Originally I was thinking about dissolving it, but that might cause us more problems than resolutions. Alright, and something like that. Just a little more equalized. And now whenever we jump into subdivision, it's not looking so just awkward. Alright, and then for this part, I just know we can solve it better. That's all I'm thinking. We could ignore it. We could ignore it. That is always a choice. So we see that everything connects over to the other side nicely. However, if we wanted to, be more lenient, we could dissolve this and this one and these two, and let's bring them together, and we'll just pull back point to point, or we could Alt 4, jump over into nSolve. And sometimes those near points can be a hard grab, but no problem. 1, 2, almost. Let's see, how can we have done that better? I'm thinking like this, with a loop in between. And now it at least solves into something that, just pleases me a little bit more on the aesthetic side of the visual. So I know I'm a bit OCD whenever it comes to geometry sometimes, but it's only because it'll haunt me after the fact. Like if it was sitting in my portfolio, I would just look at the piece and think, oh, I should have slid that one thing. As a result, I should remove it from my portfolio. Alright, so with that, now I think we have something that I can live with. However, I still think I might want to do a more extended pass on refinement, just refining the shapes, but let's press Alt-V, turn off overlays, and just kind of admire our final result. In fact, we can select everything and hit it with Alt-N, give it a blank material, just once and for all, and then look at it in render view. Blender, of course, got to have its moment to micro hang for some reason. Alright, and here we go. And for a shape that started being cut into a side that was wedging, I'm not completely displeased. Let's jump ourselves over into Eevee. And once again, Blender's giving us the business, strangely. Alright, here we go. And we could just shift click on material scroll to just scroll through combinations of potential materials, just because this one that we received wasn't exactly right. So we will randomly roll the gauntlet again. Let's bring it back around so we're looking at the front, and this thing is really just reflective glass. So instead of making it glass where we'd see all the innards, we will just make it rather shiny. Let's call this front. I'm actually experiencing performance issues all around, so I'm not sure if I'm needing to reboot or what. And let's pull back and take a look at our image. We could probably give this the same material as well, just so we have something nice to look at as we wrap this up.
And let's take a look and see. And I like how this looks a little more rounded, so almost makes me want to get in here and just work the corner a little bit. But that's a dramatic change to be making at the very last second to just make that rounded. In fact, we can give it a deceptive level of 2 just for evaluation, and we also see that this area is a little darker in here, so let's do that here. And I'm just selecting this loop and then Control plus to grow it, and then we could shrink it and we still have that selection just without the ring on the side. If we turn off overlays, we can see what we're looking at here, and we could get more fine with this later on. We're just setting something up for now just so it's not just a gray model we exit out on. We'll select these two as well, and we'll grow it and shrink it, which will give me what I need on the inside but also on the outside, and then shrinking it will reduce that. Just something I've always enjoyed. However, that time I grew and reduced my way to a bit of a situation, so we'll just undo that. And it's definitely time to wrap. Once the macro blank is playing, that means that I will be here all day if I just let it play. But now we can at least sit back and admire our result, at least to this point in the video. So let's pause it right here, and I'm going to press Alt V B, and we'll just roll in a blank light setup that is randomized. And that spotlight is just hitting it so hard, I almost want to keep it just because of the shadow it's giving us. And also looking at this, no matter how interesting we make the lighting, the background is that 2.5 gray, right? So we'll have to do something about that. Let's grab that light empty and rotate that back around. Oh no, see what happened is because we're in look dev, the moment that we finished the operation, scene lights went back off to represent the viewport. I was wondering why after we completed the operation the lighting suddenly changed. Let's also press Alt VV to just look at our viewports here. We'll press R to make it where whenever we press complete, it'll set it to the render as well. And maybe something like that. And now let us just rotate around this thing and admire our handiwork. Alt V, turning overlays back on. I will still need to be spending some time off cam, really researching what this shape looks like. The more I look at this picture, the more new things that I take away from it. I just wanted to get in and just do a missile for old time's sake, you know, me and missiles. But here we are obsessing over the fine details of it. So with that, I will wrap up this video for now. I thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Can't stop, won't stop. Brought up the PRF, was looking at the image again, and you know, in this artistic representation that we're using as a reference kindly, we see that, you know, there's these few pieces up top that, you know, will really complete it. In fact, there's a few extra pieces on top of those pieces that'll really complete it. So might as well just get in here and get it complete, right? Because it isn't a far distance between what we have now and what I would call the intended finished result. In fact, I'm just looking at this to see if it's all planar, because this circle is the same as this one, except it's on the other side. So let's see. Sorry, I must have had my hotkeys in a different app. Let's just grow this circle and bring it out, and we will just stitch it in like open heart surgery. For this area, we'll add an extra loop
And just like that, we've taken care of the circle, traditional. And for this area on the inside, I see that this kind of flares out, and I'm thinking, should we even attempt that? Should I pretend like we didn't see it? Because that's often easier, right? Can't tell you how often I've had to do that, where at the end it's just like, yeah, it's probably better I just didn't see that. Just pretend I did not see that. They're like, hey, did you see that? It's like, yeah. You know, otherwise, you know, I failed a vision test. They're like, hey, did you see that? No. Well, you are blind. Jeez, I failed the vision test. So, yeah, you gotta be mindful. So, and what I am certain will be regrettable, let us grab this one and this one, just thinking on the fly, and we'll just move it over 0.05 negative. All right, and with these two, we'll move it G, Y, 0.05, and we don't have to put a negative on it. Let's just slide this over, and things are getting a little wacky, but if we select both these rings and just hit it with the little eye. In fact, eye is a kind of a strange one, but because my mouse has been giving me some business, I'm just glad to be tapping hotkeys again. You know, a good amount of my hotkeys are on the mouse, not eye though. Should be. All right, we've made a little progress. Did a little damage. Don't want to look at it too hard, or I will start wanting to make even larger corrections. In fact, we see that this circle is on the other side, so you know, things that are at least within the realm of possibility, might as well go for them. Let's just shift D, even though we're gonna fill that area in, can't have 3 holes. Then we're making suggestions. You know, then we have Lockheed Martin writing us saying, do we have any more war secrets to tell them? Just kidding. Alright, so for this area, M, center, let's bring it all the way over, and we can just dissolve those two, getting them out of there. Bada bing, bada boom. So now, I look at this whole thing thinking, just sliding it over just a little bit wouldn't be the worst idea, except it might not be the best idea, but let's do it anyways. Let's grab this as well, and we're just moving it over. You know, really the more I take into reference, the more major I want to make those moves that I'm trying to make. I mean, we could make this move majorly too. Let's Alt H and just kind of analyze what we have going on here. Like, when it comes to reading images, it's always a struggle with me, but practice makes perfect. I'll probably spend the rest of my life studying ref, looking at ref. Hopefully it's not mistaken for something profound. You know, they find me looking at a submarine, like a naval sub, not like a submarine sandwich. That'd be crazy to die looking at a sub, and then the whole world just thinks that that was my profound message, something to do with a submarine sandwich. It could be Quiznos. You know, it's like my rosebud is my Quiznos, just a symbol of my childhood gone. Alright, enough getting weird here. Except we do have to get weird. In fact, might need to add an additional loop here. We could activate Analyze, like we're in a Final Fantasy battle. You know, scan the enemy, hit it with the Libra, you know, see how things are looking. In fact, might as well. And we see one loop is completely not even needed at this point. But it does mean that this area requires a resolution. So
we're just solving as we go, but we're getting serious with this. I just wanted to add a few additional components to the top, so that way the top could be shown. Alright, moving along. It really is these latches in the middle. I have to create them. In the back of my mind, I'm like, wow, we could probably do this with geometry nodes on face groups, and I should, but that would be like a 30-minute departure because I'm still grasping the fundamentals. So instead, we are going to just curve extract that, and I only want to do this work once, and be honest, I only want to do this work half of that. So let's bisect split this thing, and a little box cutter. Let's jump over to nSolve, which will by extension jump us over into nSuite. Let's bring out our circle. Control X, and let us just grab our sides. Alt 4, jump back over to solve. We want to make sure that we're in join mode. Next update will have a toggle for alt scroll, so that way alt scroll will stop being so accidental. But I'm definitely noticing that as a situation of brewing, right? So let's mirror this onto the other side. And what we want to do is make sure subdivision is last on the stack, so that way we don't have it showing the way it was with all the geometry. The modifier order matters. We also want to put a line down the middle, just so we don't have everything being dominated. But every time we cut, it is moving to mirror. So let us underscore subdivision. And this means no more passing subdivision. Subdivision is it, it's the line. So let us jump back over. Let's Q, array, XX, and we'll press V in order to use 3D. And now we can take this, Alt X, but we'll press A this time because we want to add a new mirror, and we'll mirror it to the other side. Let's select this and make sure that our modifiers are in order. So we want to subdivide at the end, because subdivide is a little selfish, but because of the underscore, it placed it at the end. No big deal. We get in and deal with it. This area, this circle, I just keep seeing it in different places as this video goes on. I'm sorry about that. But keeping it fairly simple allows us to keep this liquid, and that is nice. Let us press C for cut through. And Alt 4, jump over and nSolve, just a little analyze just to see if we are doing more harm than good. And usually when there's a single try, it's always just a merge away. For this, we could apply the mirror and then just dissolve that one in between, or have an edge converge against it to solve it while it's in the mirror, but really it's just a single try at the front, and it's a try at the front, so if anything, it's probably doing us a favor, helping us keep that sharp. Let us Control S save this, just in case a crash humbles us. I'm already being humble. I don't need a crash to do it. Anyways. Continuing on. The next thing is this thing sticking out. I don't know why I dance around things as if they are difficult. Once a shape is able to be seen, at least by me, my brain starts to
come up with a plan for it, and that's the joy of modeling for me. Or at least that's the joy I find in modeling, is that moment when the brain begins to put a shape together. Except it's doing it all the time, right? It's, in reality, I'm trying to assemble shapes. In video games, I'm analyzing shapes. In fact, sometimes I'll be analyzing a video game asset only to find that the asset is a lot blurrier than I thought it was. You know, even in this age of 4K gaming, you take a screenshot of a game asset and it looks like tessellated and like blown out, like it looks crazy. Some of these assets, like I was going to do a video modeling some assets from Stellar Blade because I admire the game so much. But the asset I chose was like this air conditioner unit I was running past. I was just like, wait, this thing looks crazy. Boxcutter, is that you? You know? And in the end, the asset was just a little icky. So the video would have been me just ranting about a blurry image. And I think I got enough videos of that. Alright, and looking at this shape, I'm just trying to be, you know, start off slow, right? Let us put an underscore here. And if we put an underscore there, that means that now I can cut it. Because this is a mesh that isn't fully manifold, right? But if we underscore it, then whenever we cut it, the boolean will be placed here, evaluating the mesh as if it is manifold, which is an important part of Blender. In fact, let's toggle into view. And lately, Boxcutter has been in a bit of an exam state where I've just been checking every nook and cranny to make sure everything's been working. And for the most part, I've been pleased. I do, of course, always want changes, but for the most part, repairs haven't been on the serious side. So that is a good thing to see, because Blender usually keeps us running as if it's Pompeii. So let us bring the shape back, and I'm just looking at it according to its reference, which I'm not going to get accurate by any means. I'm just kind of freestyling it here. I mean, I'm already seeing how my lack of resolution is going to basically damn me. Let's try to make this work. You know, it'd be crazy would be if I applied the boolean over the mirror. We see that didn't work, so let's apply. So by applying the mirror first, it makes the mesh manifold, and then I'm able to apply the boolean. The subdivision, we just don't want to talk about it. But I do want to grab this loop, and we'll set our origin there. And then we can Alt-X and bisect a modifier. And just that little maneuver of grabbing this loop and setting the origin makes me think in my mind that, hey, that's something that set origin can't do. Set origin should be able to grab a loop and loop-de-loop, you know, a little sonic loop-de-loop action that we just did there. We should be able to do that. So, I don't know. I will see. Sometimes I ask these things and they turn out to be more difficult than expected. We'll do a little bit of reduction, just because I'm really taking in the geometry and what I'm facing here. Alright, we'll give it a loop here, even though we just took it away. In fact, you know what we haven't talked about for a moment? Is project loop. But to really utilize it to the fullest, we want to project it all the way. And then let's mirror it while keeping half, so that way our work is logical. From here, let's take a moment to insert an edge loop. Alternative to me using a hard loop, which is me forcing a loop, which comes in handy, but you know, when you're trying to be topologically sound, forcing is kind of an early game sort of maneuver. At the end of it, it's more refinement, or at least for me. You know, I'm just making the rules as I go here. Let's double check the normals, and we'll turn off overlays. And you know, how obsessive do I want to get with this particular part? In fact,
looking at this part, I probably want to give it a little bit of resolution because it's just barely holding together up here. Barely holding together. You know, I see it wavering because of prior mistakes, but we're just going to let it slide. Especially because it's so small. It'd be so rare for me to zoom in on just that one little thing. And sometimes I think about that. I think about that at the end after I've obsessed over a very small part for many hours. It's like, that screw, boy, someone's going to screw into it one day. They're going to really zoom in on it, and they're going to be grateful. Said no one ever. In my documentary that they'll do when I pass away in front of a computer, that's when they'll do it. So we're just adding selective details here. I mean, this piece, what is it? I mean, all these pieces, after I do them, I would basically probably want to add them to KitOps so that way they're being reused afterwards. I mean, let's use a little hops tool. Let's Control S, and you know, we will hold Control in order to just lift this up, and we still have our handy dandy dots. And how many segments do we have on this? 32. What if I wanted something more like 24? 24 is like my magic number right now. Not like basketball player style, but just favorite numbers. We will remove that, and let's just make it real. You know, we don't really need a lot here. It's just a really fancy way to get a cylinder, and us collapsing it before applying it's just my way of being efficient. So I mean, what is this part we're looking at here? Like, really, we're referencing a 3D model at this point, but you know, like I said, it's like a strategy guide. You know, if we were playing an RPG, this is us reading how to beat Ozma, or Infinite Draw in Final Fantasy VIII or something. Just let us set our origin here, which it probably already is, and we could just slide this down. And I see some parts of this kind of flaring out. I don't know how accurate that is, but let's just go for it. Just E, Alt S. And this is one of those parts where I don't need to obsess. So let's just get through this quickly, and also without a ton of detail, right? So we'll perform an inset just to section this off. I mean, everything else has so nicely been working with sub D, so we might as well keep that party going. And that is precisely why Alt Scroll will probably need to take a break inside of nSolve. Alright, from here, we'll go ahead and pull an offset, insert a loop, and let's take a look at our damage. Of course, we're about to mirror and you know, make things right on the other side. Really rectify things with the divided souls inside of us, like Hohenheim. Right about now. So we can Alt X, hit it with a bisect modifier, and or bisecting mod. I said bisect modifier like that's a thing. It is not. Bisecting mod just means split it in half and put a mirror mod on it. Just get rid of the other side, and it's just a way to work. We could also non-destructively handle things. So I'm going to grab this to here, and we're going to bring this over, and then just join that over. So, you know, you've seen me do
grid fill using a myriad of ways over the course of this video. You see me use inflow to do it, which, you know, I love just loading the basic config and just quickly doing it. Like, it's just very fast. And then after that, I have inflow equipped to be that whenever I jump over to it. Alright, so let's give this a little bit of subdiv, and we see that, you know, this area could be sharpened up a little bit with an extra loop. In fact, maybe one extra loop. In fact, what are we doing? Look how small this thing is, and we're over here working it up for sub D. But, you know, once I have a idea of what the shape is, I mean, there's like a little tick over there, so I almost want to do that. And also, this part is collapsing. We'll press Shift G, grab it by the normal, and let's just delete all those faces, and now it just works out. I mean, we could also solve it, but it's a not shown thing. It's not like this is going to be used in a documentary, but I mean, the level that we're looking at, I mean, especially this one's like one that you would see like on a documentary saying like, and then the drone was used on these people, and then it would be like a picture of tragedy being painted. Alright, so I want a circle. Let's just take that circle, and by take I just mean curve extract. I should have made a bunch of, actually no, I was going to say I should have made a bunch of taking jokes for Thanksgiving, but no, that's not appropriate. You know, they recently uncanceled the Redskins, so I think they're bringing back the name. They just decided like, oh, it's not racist, actually, which I think in itself that might be racist, to just this decree that something is not. So for this, we could add loops. We could also just go to Bevel and just scroll it up the stack, and we just scroll in a loop. Press 3 to make it a contour, and now we have this set up. In fact, if we turn off subdivision, we can see what we've done. We've just basically put a edge perimeter bevel there, which means that, you know, we can basically get to work. I can press F, I can press I, we can press E, press E again. There's a bunch of stuff in the middle looking crazy. You know, we're just not going to talk about that. And we'll just seal that up. But yeah, seriously, we're not going to talk about that, because everything will get exponentially crazier over and over. So, continuing on, we're over here testing out a little hops tool, so let's just bring it in. And if we look at it in perspective, the dots won't be so close together. That's like a long time bug that probably now can finally be resolved, now that geometry nodes is able to have widgets, right? So we've been talking about transitioning these over. However, my attitude is that, first of all, no need to replace it outright. If anything, there needs to be a variant made that is useful with geometry nodes, because a lot of people are still not yet completely over with us in 4.0, where the shock of auto smooth has not set in yet. So we don't want to break away from that just yet with a system that only uses Blender 4.3 and up. Anyways, continue on. Let us press Shift D, and we are going to bring this in, extend the solidify, select both of these, and since we're in Hops tool, we have the colorized Hops ring whenever we hold Control. And in this thing, we're just going to choose cut. And now that we have cut, we of course have the F9, except because we used the Hops tool dot, we do not have the F9. But what we do have, though, is the ability to go in and shiftable, changing it from a cut to a slice. And now we can complete that operation and continue on. So just a little randomized fun here. Let's press Q. We'll use Smart Apply. To Smart Apply both of these, we'll go into local mode, and let's just delete the faces off of the bottom. And we'll bring this face up. And let's take this time to bevel. Press 3 in order to make a spacer bevel. and let's just Control A, apply that. Alright, I'm just looking at this wondering what has happened here. Oh, we need to apply the bevel. I thought we applied the bevel, my mistake. Let's press Control T, Alt J. Also something we could have been using a little bit of nSolve for. And this thing's a little higher resolution than I need it to be, but let's just go ahead and solve this rapidly. So I'm just grabbing this loop. We'll just bring this up. Correct. Let's bisect mod that. Okay, there's two meshes at play here. I don't see how I could not have noticed that. And that is what's been throwing me off all night on it. So now, let us give this the same material as well. And for this object, I mean, we kind of went in on it a little bit despite it just being a little minor piece, but we want to add a mirror modifier because this thing's already mirrored across itself. In fact, we'll select this and this, Alt X, but we'll press A so that way we can mirror it across. And now if we select this and we press Alt X again, we can just press X to reset it to just be a general mirror, which means it will use the last mirror that's on the stack, and we just mirror it across itself again. But by the way that the wire is being displayed, we know that our modifier stack order needs a little bit of refinement. So there we go. Finally, we have modeled these pieces up top. So now I can look at this with a little more pride. I mean, also, you know, once you see that that is a thing, you almost can't ignore it, except how will I make that fit in here? In fact, I don't know if we are modeling the same missile here. That's why I have to double check the research on it and see what's going on with the back of this one versus mine. But there are so many interesting shapes we could continue modeling in here. I just wanted to do one more pass of refinement on this, so that way when we look at it in a render, we can look at it all around with pride. I mean, really, the next thing is put some straps on this thing and strap this thing onto a vehicle. I mean, is that guy on our side? I don't know. I can't tell. It's might be racist to say he's not, right? You know, our nation is a nation, a coalition of the willing, as Chappelle would say. Let us make sure that our front has a separate color, just so we can delineate it from the rest of it. So we have that. We probably also want to model that, except, you know, there comes a part where decals take over. In fact, I was going to have a section where I use decal machine. Might save that for the next section. But let us go ahead and just take a look at this in render view. And finally, I will wrap up this very long video. I wouldn't mind having one of these sit in my yard, but I mean, I guess this is also a dangerous thing to see and have around, so it's not necessarily a good thing. So I'm just turning off things in the view that probably just aren't necessary to see at this moment. I guess everything else is fine. I almost want to turn off the 3D cursor, but every time I do, I feel guilt because the 3D cursor is just so important to Blender. You know, if you ever wonder why Blender is the greatest program ever, it's probably the 3D cursor. I mean, there's myriad of other reasons, but the 3D cursor is definitely one of those things. It's like the finger of you, the user, reaching in and touching your scene. Like, where are you going to place your cube? At the 3D cursor. Sorry to rant about the 3D cursor at the end of this, but with that, I will finally wrap up this video.